Welcome back to Prehistoric Medievals, where we delve deep into the annals of time to uncover the most extraordinary stories of ancient humanity. Before we jump into today's video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss out on the fascinating tales from our past. Throughout Earth's long history, dramatic shifts in climate and living conditions have shaped the very fabric of life on this planet. From volcanic eruptions to ice ages, the environment has relentlessly challenged every species, humans included. But it's not just these climatic changes that have altered the course of history. For ancient species like the Neanderthals, survival depended on something else entirely: adaptability. You've probably heard of the Neanderthals, the mysterious humans who once roamed Europe and parts of Western Asia. For about 400,000 years, Neanderthals thrived. They were strong, with brains that were just as large, if not larger than ours. They crafted intricate stone tools, buried their dead with rituals, and had the physical prowess to rival any predator of their time. But despite their strength and intelligence, they eventually vanished from the fossil record around 40,000 years ago. What happened? Why did such a formidable species disappear so suddenly? Well, growing evidence suggests that climate change played a key role. Between 50,000 and 40,000 years ago, Earth went through a period of extreme climatic instability. Temperatures fluctuated wildly, and ecosystems were thrown into chaos. Imagine this. Around 39,000 years ago, a massive volcanic eruption in southern Italy, the Campanian Ignimbrite eruption, blanketed much of Europe in ash. The world was thrust into a volcanic winter, where temperatures dropped significantly, plants died off, and food sources became scarce.
As the climate shifted, the Neanderthals' primary food sources began to disappear. Species like woolly rhinoceroses, mammoths, and bison, vital to the Neanderthal diet, started to decline rapidly. Without their usual prey, Neanderthals faced starvation, and their habitats became inhospitable. The environment they relied upon was no longer stable. But climate change wasn't the only factor. Around this time, a new species began to encroach upon Neanderthal territory: Homo sapiens. Our ancestors, Homo sapiens, arrived in Europe around 45,000 years ago, bringing with them more advanced tools, better communication, and complex social structures. This created intense competition for resources. While Neanderthals were struggling with their changing environment, Homo sapiens seemed to have the edge. And if that wasn't enough, the arrival of Homo sapiens likely introduced new diseases that Neanderthals had no immunity against. The Neanderthals' small population size and isolated groups made them vulnerable. They were not able to adapt quickly enough to the rapidly changing world around them. It was a combination of harsh climate shifts, competition with a more adaptable species, and vulnerability to disease that ultimately led to their extinction. But this was not the first time a species had faced such a dramatic fall. Let's look back further in time to the story of Homo erectus, a species that lasted far longer than the Neanderthals, but met the same fate: extinction due to changing climates and ecological pressures. Homo erectus first appeared about 2 million years ago in Africa. They were the first human species to walk upright, and they quickly spread across Africa, the Middle East, South Asia, and East Asia. Homo erectus survived for over 1.5 million years, much longer than any other human species. They were also the first to use fire and craft tools with the Acheulean technique, a marked advancement from their predecessors. They hunted cooperatively and likely had structured social groups, which set them apart from earlier hominins. But despite their longevity and advanced abilities, Homo erectus eventually disappeared around 100,000 years ago. What happened to them? Well, the same culprit as before: climate change. During the Pleistocene epoch, Earth's climate underwent rapid oscillations between glacial and interglacial periods. These rapid shifts left ecosystems in turmoil, and Homo erectus, reliant on stable environments and large game hunting, found themselves unable to cope with the constant changes. Dense forests vanished, turning into dry grasslands and semi-deserts. Water and food sources became erratic. In a world where stability was crucial, Homo erectus couldn't adapt quickly enough to the fluctuations in their environment. Geological events also played a significant role in their decline. One of the most impactful was the eruption of the Toba supervolcano in Indonesia around 74,000 years ago. This was one of the most catastrophic volcanic events in Earth's history, and its effects were felt across the globe. The eruption released huge amounts of ash into the atmosphere, triggering a volcanic winter that lasted for years. The global temperature dropped, photosynthesis was reduced, and food chains collapsed across many regions, especially in Asia, where Homo erectus lived. While we don't have direct evidence linking the eruption to the extinction of Homo erectus, the timing of the event coincides with a sharp decline in their fossil record. As with the Neanderthals, Homo erectus also faced competition from other human species like Homo habilis and Homo sapiens, who were more adept at adapting to new environments. These newer species had better tools, social structures, and hunting strategies that allowed them to access resources more efficiently, pushing Homo erectus to the brink of extinction. As we reflect on these ancient species, it's clear that survival wasn't just about physical strength or intelligence. It was about adaptability. The ability to change and innovate in the face of a rapidly changing world made Homo sapiens stand apart from the others. And that's where our story becomes even more fascinating. But before we move on to how Homo sapiens managed to survive and thrive in a world fraught with climate and environmental disasters, don't forget to subscribe to Prehistoric Medievals. Hit that bell icon so you never miss an episode where we explore more of these incredible human stories. Now, as we look ahead to the rise of Homo sapiens, we see a species that learned from the mistakes of its predecessors. We'll explore how Homo sapiens used not just their physical strength, but their cognitive abilities to adapt to the harshest conditions Earth has ever seen. This marked a new chapter in human history. Homo sapiens had emerged as a force to be reckoned with, surpassing the Neanderthals and Homo erectus in their ability to adapt to the ever-changing environments around them. While these earlier species struggled to survive amidst the chaos of fluctuating climates, Homo sapiens demonstrated an exceptional ability to evolve, not just biologically, but culturally and behaviorally as well. This allowed them to navigate the extreme conditions of Earth's past in ways no other species could.
So, how did Homo sapiens manage to survive? The answer lies in a combination of behavioral innovation, social cooperation, and technological advancements. In an era where the climate was unpredictable, shifting from frigid glacial periods to warmer interglacial cycles, Homo sapiens had to be agile and flexible. Unlike their predecessors, who had relied on established survival strategies, our ancestors learned to think ahead and change with the times. One of the most significant breakthroughs came in the form of food preservation. In a world where droughts, volcanic winters, and rapidly shifting ecosystems could make food scarce, Homo sapiens figured out how to store food for times of scarcity. They developed techniques to dry, smoke, and cook food, enabling them to survive during harsh winters or prolonged droughts when hunting became difficult. But their ability to adapt didn't end with food preservation. Early Homo sapiens were also pioneers in creating more sophisticated tools. Unlike the Neanderthals, who relied on simple stone tools, Homo sapiens crafted a wide variety of specialized tools for different tasks. From hunting weapons like spears and bows to tools for crafting clothing and building shelter, Homo sapiens' ability to innovate was a game changer. These tools allowed them to hunt more efficiently, build stronger homes, and protect themselves from the dangers of the wild. But perhaps the most remarkable part of their survival strategy was their social structures. Homo sapiens didn't just rely on individual strength or intelligence. They thrived because of their ability to work together. Unlike Neanderthals, who lived in small, isolated groups, Homo sapiens formed larger, more complex social networks. These networks allowed them to share resources, pool knowledge, and protect one another in a world that was constantly changing. The importance of cooperation cannot be overstated. The ability to communicate using language was key to this success. While Neanderthals likely had some form of communication, Homo sapiens took it to a whole new level. With language, Homo sapiens were able to share knowledge across generations, coordinate group activities like hunting, and build intricate social bonds. The complexity of their communication allowed them to organize large-scale cooperative efforts, which were essential for survival in an unpredictable world.
This social cooperation was also evident in their hunting strategies. Early Homo sapiens didn't simply hunt alone or in small groups. They hunted as a coordinated unit. They developed complex strategies to hunt large animals like bison, mammoths, and deer. By working together, they could track, corner, and ultimately overpower prey that would have been too powerful or dangerous for a lone hunter. Through these collective efforts, Homo sapiens began to dominate the food chain. Their ability to adapt to changing environments, harness the power of social cooperation, and develop innovative tools allowed them to survive where others, like the Neanderthals and Homo erectus, had failed. But survival wasn't the only thing Homo sapiens excelled at. They also began to thrive. Their ability to adapt to new environments and develop specialized tools meant that they could expand their range beyond Africa and into Europe, Asia, and beyond. As the climate continued to shift, Homo sapiens moved from their original homelands in Africa, crossing land bridges into the Middle East, Southeast Asia, and even Australia. They adapted to the harsh conditions of the tundra, the deserts, and the dense jungles, proving that their success was not just a matter of survival, but of adaptation on an unprecedented scale. One key factor in their success was their ability to make use of both plant and animal resources. While meat was an essential part of their diet, providing the necessary protein and fat to fuel their growing brains, Homo sapiens didn't rely solely on hunting. They were also skilled gatherers, utilizing the resources available to them in their environment. Early humans foraged for fruits, nuts, seeds, and roots, supplementing their meat-based diet and ensuring they had a diverse range of nutrients. Interestingly, some of their plant-based resources were not just food. Early Homo sapiens also used plants for medicinal purposes. They learned to recognize plants with healing properties, using them to treat injuries, illnesses, and even to prepare for seasonal changes. This knowledge of the natural world not only helped them survive, but also laid the groundwork for future advancements in medicine and agriculture. As Homo sapiens continued to adapt and innovate, they began to develop a deeper connection with their environment. They weren't just surviving, they were beginning to understand the world around them in ways that no other species could. Through their hunting, gathering, and social cooperation, Homo sapiens laid the foundation for the rise of civilization. But the journey didn't end there. As Homo sapiens spread across the globe, they encountered new challenges, new environments, new species, and new threats. And with each new challenge, they adapted, proving that their greatest strength lay not in their physical might, but in their ability to think, plan, and cooperate.
And that, my friends, is what sets Homo sapiens apart from all the species that came before them. It wasn't just their intelligence or their physical strength. It was their remarkable adaptability that allowed them to survive and thrive in an unpredictable world. So if you've enjoyed this dive into the history of our ancient ancestors, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Prehistoric Medievals. Hit that notification bell so you're always the first to hear the next chapter in the fascinating story of human evolution. Stay tuned for the next video, where we'll explore the rise of agriculture and the birth of civilization, how our ancestors moved from survival to thriving in complex societies. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.